How has Scottish identity been impacted by globalization through its role in the British Empire?
Well, Scottish identity was transformed really by what happened after the 1707 union with England, because the Scots were then admitted to the beginning of the British Empire. British Empire became global. In a way, it was the first globalisation, in which, as it developed, it eventually became a vast, largely free trade area, free flows of capital, and the opportunity for settlement, which affected the Scots very much, a poor country. And so they emigrated to Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and to, of course, the United States as well. And they acquired the habit of thinking of themselves as a people for whom the world was their oyster. They could go almost anywhere and say, I am a British citizen, as they were, of course, after the Union, and therefore I can trade here, invest here, settle here, whatever. So this deeply changed Scottish attitudes to their own identity.
And you also made the point that there's been this transition where Scots have started to see themselves as Scots only and not as both British. And so what accounts for this change?
What happened really beginning in the, I think really in the post-war, post-1945 world, was that the sort of bargain which was implied by the 1707 union with England began to unravel. The bargain was, you give up your independence and your parliament, and in return we give you access to all the prosperity of the empire. What happened was that, first of all, the empire disappeared in the 1960s, so all that closed down. Secondly, that Scottish industries, which were disproportionately heavy export industries, particularly engineering, mining and all that, began to fall into severe trouble in the 1960s, and they began to discharge labour on a huge scale and to go into terminal decline, as it turned out. And all this made people in Scotland feel, well, what was the Union for if it was not to guarantee our prosperity?
Okay, and finally, how is this changing notion of Scottish identity impacting the politics of Scotland and also the debate over identity?
Well, initially, the idea of Scottish independence was really laughed at by most Scots all through the 19th century, but this was so popular, the idea of national independence in Europe, and in Scotland it hardly raised a murmur. Then, in the times when the Union bargain seemed to be unstitching and Scotland was not getting the benefits of it, people looked around and said, well, could we not govern ourselves? That was part of it. Another part of it was the coming of the British welfare state, in one sense very welcome in Scotland. In another sense, it extended a kind of London control of the enormous new welfare bureaucracy in Britain. And the Scots felt they were losing control of their own lives at a local level. And this also influenced the way in which gradually an ordinary conventional nationalist party, which had been regarded as a complete joke after it was founded in 1928, suddenly in the late 60s it began to swell and rise. People started to vote for it and it began to win seats in the British Parliament and local government. And this was clearly because people felt that we must take charge of our lives, and control of our own lives and jobs and destinies is slipping away from us,